Emma Price blended into the world like fog against a gray sky. She didn't dress loud, didn't speak much, and certainly didn't draw attention. That was the point. She liked it that way. Her life had been loud once, far too loud, but not anymore. Now, she sat quietly in row 9, seat A, of a commercial flight out of Denver International Airport, a morning flight nonstop to Chicago. No one looked twice at her, just a slim woman in jeans and a soft blue hoodie. Earbuds in, flipping through a paperback novel she wasn't really reading. She sipped from a bottle of water, eyes occasionally drifting out the window as the ground grew smaller beneath her. The aircraft climbed steadily, a peaceful ascent. Flight 717 had 186 passengers, families, businessmen, students, couples, tired eyes and neck pillows. She scanned the rows quickly during boarding, but nothing stood out. No one watching her, no tails, no flags. She exhaled through her nose and shut her eyes. Maybe for once, this really was just a normal flight. Inside the cockpit, however, normally shattered. A silent, encrypted alert flashed across the co-pilot's side screen. He blinked, confused. It wasn't from air traffic control, nor from the airline's private channel. This was something else, something off books. A direct line from an agency most pilots never even knew existed. Code black. Oracle. Present. Identify and engage discreetly. "Captain," the co-pilot muttered, "you're going to want to see this." Captain James Rohr leaned over and frowned at the message. His mind raced through possibilities. "Oracle?" he asked, confused. "That's military." "Not quite," the co-pilot said. "I've only heard that code name once, in a debrief about national emergency protocols. Said if we ever saw it, we were to follow quietly. No questions asked." "Is this a drill?" the captain asked. His voice was steady, but his fingers trembled slightly. "No, sir. This came through encrypted military band, live time-stamped." The captain stared at the message for another beat, then turned to the manifest. There it was. A symbol had appeared beside one passenger's name. Emma Price, row 9, seat A. No additional information, no history, no agency, just a blinking glyph beside the name. A circle within a triangle. He stood up. "Keep us steady," he said. "I'm going to talk to row 9. Outside the cockpit, the world remained blissfully unaware. Passengers sipped coffee, tapped on tablets, flipped through Sky Mall, or napped with headphones. Emma opened her eyes again, blinking as the flight attendant moved past. She reached for her water bottle, and then someone was standing beside her. She looked up, the captain in full uniform, calm, professional, and very much out of place walking the cabin mid-climb. He leaned against the seat beside her, eyes scanning casually as if checking overhead compartments. His voice was low, friendly, but precise, like someone trained to speak under pressure. "Oracle," he said, so softly it was barely audible. "It's time." Emma froze, out. Everything stopped. Her pulse, her breath, the world around her. That name, that code. It had been 6 years, 6 long years since she buried that life. She turned her head slightly but didn't look up. "Where did you get that name?" The captain didn't answer. He reached into his breast pocket and flashed a small card, laminated, barely visible. The same symbol as the manifest. Triangle, circle glyph. Official. Unmistakable. Emma's stomach twisted. She hadn't been activated since 2019. The agreement was clear. Her mission slate was done. Her new life started quietly with teaching, therapy, a little gardening. Nothing about her now resembled the weapon she used to be. No more deep cover operations, no more backdoor entries through foreign embassies, just peace, books, quiet. But now, someone had found her. And if Oracle had been triggered, if someone from above had reactivated that name, then something was very, very wrong. "What's the situation?" she whispered. The captain hesitated. "Details are thin. Minutes after takeoff, the avionics system triggered a minor alert. The access panel under the cabin was opened briefly. No one has a reason to be there mid-flight. We thought it was a sensor glitch until we got the message. Something's happening on this plane. They didn't tell us what, only that Oracle was aboard. You... Emma closed her eyes. She took a deep breath. Do you trust your crew? She asked. The captain paused. With my life. Good. Don't alert them yet. Keep this quiet. I need access to crew controls, security view feeds, and a uniform. A uniform? He asked. I need to move around without raising suspicion. The captain nodded slowly. Follow me. As he stepped away, Emma reached under her seat and pulled out her slim carry-on. Most people carried laptops, chargers, or books. Hers carried none of that. Inside was a roll of medical tape, a flash drive, and a tool that could open almost any panel on a Boeing aircraft. Her pulse was steady now. The fog had lifted. She was no longer just a woman in row 9. She was Oracle again, and whatever this was, she would find it and stop it, even if it was the last thing she did. Emma followed Captain Rohr down the narrow aisle, her hoodie now lowered, posture straighter than before. The passengers didn't pay much attention. Some were dozing, others too engrossed in in-flight entertainment to notice the quiet transformation of the woman from row 9. They entered the service corridor near the galley. One of the flight attendants, Sherilyn, blinked in confusion when she saw Emma. She's assisting with a system review, the captain said casually. Just need a spare shirt and clearance panel access. Cheryl hesitated but didn't question the authority in his tone. She handed over a folded blue button-up uniform top. Emma slipped into it and tucked her ID into the front pocket, just visible enough to pass for staff. She looked every bit like she belonged now, a nobody no more. They moved swiftly to the small service room behind the galley, where the secondary panel access for avionics was located. It had been used recently. Emma knelt beside it, brushed a glove across the floor. Dust was disturbed. Someone had opened it. A faint scuff, mark, boot tread, too small for crew. Someone was down here, she murmured. The captain crouched beside her. Could be maintenance oversight before departure. Emma shook her head. No, this was accessed mid-air. Look, she pointed at the streak in the dust. Fresh. He stepped down with one foot, lifted a latch. Captain Rohr's jaw tightened. So, what are we looking at here? Sabotage? Something more elegant, Emma said. They don't want to crash the plane. They want to control where it's going. The captain frowned. Why not just hijack it the old-fashioned way? Because the old-fashioned way leaves witnesses, Emma replied. This way, the aircraft reroutes, goes dark on radar, and lands somewhere else, quietly. Everyone disappears. A pause. Ghost flight, he whispered. Emma nodded grimly. Exactly. Just then, a voice crackled through the intercom. Sherilyn again. She spoke calmly, but there was an edge to her voice. Captain, please return to the front cabin. Passenger disturbance. Nothing alarming, just strange behavior. Rohr and Emma exchanged a look. They hurried back through the aisle. Near row 13, a man in a beige jacket stood awkwardly near the restroom. He wasn't talking to anyone, just lingering, fidgeting with something in his hand. Too calculated, too calm. Emma studied him from a few rows back. She saw it. His body language was off. His eyes kept darting toward the cockpit, then toward the underfloor panel they'd just investigated. He's watching access points, Emma said quietly. The man glanced at her just for a second, and that was enough. Recognition flashed behind his eyes, not of her face, but of what she was. Trained. Eyes recognized trained posture. He turned and started walking back toward the restroom again, his hand now inside his coat. Move, Emma snapped. The captain nodded, stepping away as Emma passed down the aisle quickly, alert but composed. She grabbed a nearby coffee tray from an empty cart, just in case. When she reached row 12, the man was already entering the lavatory. She paused, counted 5 seconds. 10. Then she knocked. Sir, flight attendant, just checking if everything's all right. No answer. She waited 2 more seconds. Then opened the panel beside the door with a universal key and shut off
the lock. The door clicked open just an inch. Inside, a man froze, crouched awkwardly near the toilet. Panel below the sink lifted again. Something was in his hand. Not a weapon. Worse, a black box flashing a low green light. Portable transmitter wired to aircraft systems. But Emma slammed the door open with her shoulder and moved in, grabbing his wrist. The man reacted, fast, faster than she expected, but not enough. They struggled for 3 tight seconds in the cramped space. He threw a shoulder into her. She used the tray, jamming it into his side, then twisted his arm behind his back and shoved him face first into the wall. "You're done," she hissed Dot. The transmitter hit the floor with a soft clunk. Emma picked it up. The green light dimmed Dot. She stuffed it into a crew waste container and sealed it shut, then zip-tied his hands behind his back, using a plastic restraint from her pocket. She dragged him out by the collar. A few heads turned, but she smiled, nodding calmly. Passengers unwell, returning to his seat. The lie held for no Dot in the galley. The captain met them with wide eyes. "What is he planning?" She showed him the device. Roar exhaled. "What does it do?" Emma turned it over, studying the backside. Mid-air override relay, not explosive, but clever. It taps into the navigation array, redirects signals. "Do we need to land?" Emma hesitated. "Not yet, but we're not safe. This feels too clean, like a distraction, a decoy." "Exactly," she said. "Someone else is still out there." The captain rubbed his forehead. "You think? There's a second operative on board." Emma nodded. "I'm certain of it." She turned and looked down the long, quiet aisle. Dozens of faces, innocent, oblivious. But among them, she knew someone else was watching, waiting Dot. And now, so was she. Emma didn't sit. She stood in the galley, staring through the half-opened curtain, toward the rows of passengers. The man she'd subdued, now zip-tied and quietly sedated with a medical aid, sat with strain near the service closet. But he wasn't the mastermind. That transmitter he installed. It was clever, yes, but crude, temporary, a test run. The real plan was still in motion. "I want the flight manifest," she said to the captain. "Digital access, now." Roar handed over his tablet and nodded toward Cheryl, who slipped past with practiced calm, offering water and snacks down the aisle to avoid suspicion. The passengers sensed something. Not danger yet, just a shift in energy, unnamed tension. A few glanced around. Most remained distracted by screens and headphones. Emma opened the manifest. She scrolled fast. Names, seats, boarding data. Her finger paused on 14C. No records. No boarding scan. No ID on file. 14C doesn't exist, she whispered Dot. The captain leaned in. "There's someone in that seat." Emma nodded. "Beige jacket. Male. He's not in your system. He shouldn't even be on this flight." They locked eyes. "We've got a ghost," Emma said. Without wasting time, she stepped out, crossed the aisle calmly, and approached 14C. The man was gone, seat empty, tray down, magazine open, half read. "Sir?" Cheryl asked behind her. "He went toward the front bathroom about 10 minutes ago." "Alone?" Emma walked forward, fast but composed. She reached the first-class cabin. Every passenger there was seated, sipping drinks and reading. Except one. A woman in sunglasses. She sat still, too still. Arms crossed, legs uncrossed. No carry-on in the footwell. No movement, no requests, no phone use, no headphones. Just silence. Emma paused. The woman's posture was defensive. Not bored, not sleepy. "Ready?" She made eye contact. The woman didn't blink. Dot. Emma glanced up. Overhead bin slightly ajar. Unusual. Most bins were tightly latched mid-flight. She looked back at the woman. "Ma'am, is this your bag?" she asked casually. Dot. The woman tilted her head but said nothing. Emma reached up, unlatched the bin, and carefully pulled out a sleek black carry-on, heavier than it should be. Very heavy. Dot. Something clunked inside as it shifted. The woman moved, not fast, but deliberate. A twitch in her fingers. A flick in her neck. Emma saw it all. She backed a step, set the bag on the ground, and unzipped it part way. Inside, a gray metal box, clean edges, digital screen active, blue light pulsing faintly. A diametric transmitter, more advanced than the earlier one, far more dangerous. This one wasn't hijacking systems. It was broadcasting to something, somewhere, possibly even redirecting military satellites, or, worse, scrambling flight control relays. Emma stood slowly. Passengers were now watching. She looked at the woman. "You're not just here to ride along," she said. The woman offered a thin smile. "Neither are you." Then she lunged. Dot. Emma expected it barely. The woman was strong, fast. The two of them tumbled into the aisle. Screams erupted. First-class passengers leapt up. Emma locked the woman's wrist with her forearm and slammed her against a seat. The woman fought like someone trained. Military. Or private ops. Emma couldn't tell, but she was precise. Dot. Cheryl moved fast with restraints. In less than 20 seconds, Emma had the woman pinned, disarmed, and cuffed to the armrest. The bag remained untouched, the device still active. "Get me a portable scanner," Emma ordered. "Or a mirror. I need to reflect the display." The captain passed her his phone. Emma angled the screen to view the code on the transmitter without touching it. "Biometric lock," she said aloud, "only opens with her thumbprint or retinal scan. Could be a dead switch. What happens if we tamper?" Emma shook her head. "Could wipe the data or activate a kill command." She turned the woman. "What's the broadcast target?" The woman just smiled. Emma knelt beside the bag again. The device was clean. No branding. No screw heads visible. A sealed core. Agency-level construction. Black market tech. Dot. And it was active. "Captain," she said without looking up, "what's our altitude?" 37,000. Just entered Canadian Air Course corridor. Something wrong?" Emma frowned. "Yes, that's not our path." Roar glanced at his instrument panel. He paled. "We've been diverted." Emma looked at him. "Your navigation has been spoofed." Quietly, slowly, over the past 30 minutes, you're no longer over approved territory. She stood. "That's why this was planted. The first transmitter tricked you into thinking we'd caught the threat, but the real device kept feeding false data." She turned to the restrained woman. "Who are you delivering this to?" No response. Emma reached into her uniform pocket and pulled out a narrow scanning wand. It wasn't agency-issued, but it was close enough. She waved it over the device. Encrypted packet. Real time. "And look at this one more thing." She pointed to the screen. "Coordinates. A location. A landing strip deep in remote northern Canada. Not on maps. Not listed on flight charts." Emma stood and said aloud, "This isn't a hijack. It's an extraction. Someone arranged for this plane to fly quietly off course, land unnoticed, and disappear. This transmitter contains stolen data. The plane was the delivery system." Roar rubbed his forehead. Emma crouched beside the biometric transmitter, feeling the plane subtly shift beneath her. It wasn't turbulence, it was course correction, silent, creeping. The aircraft was no longer heading towards Chicago. Its nose was pointed further north, gradually moving into uncharted airspace. The device in front of her hummed quietly, its blue pulse steady. A signal was being sent, continuous, encrypted, and dangerous. "I need access to this now," she muttered. The captain hovered nearby, glancing at his flight instruments. "We're being rerouted faster. Altitude is stable, but our vector doesn't match any FAA lanes. They haven't even pinged us yet." "They won't," Emma replied. "Not unless they notice we're fully out of pattern. And by then we could be gone." The restrained woman in sunglasses said nothing. No fear, no concern, just icy silence. She was a courier, trained and unshakable. That meant the device was more important than she was. Emma pulled out a folded strip of reflective mylar from her pocket. She held it at an angle, redirecting the data feed into her own phone camera. The display revealed a 9-digit code embedded into the software.
"Countdown sequence 12 minutes until full system integration. After that, the aircraft's entire flight logic would be locked externally." "Cheryl," Emma called, "keep the passengers calm. Say it's a temporary systems check. Bring me the med kit and anything with isopropyl alcohol." The attendant hurried off. Roar knelt beside her. "What's the plan?" Emma responded without looking up. "Biometric systems operate on a closed sensor loop, but if I can mimic the woman's thumbprint, or at least trick the sensor into accepting a partial match, I can bypass the primary lock and enter the internal override shell." "You can do that?" "Maybe," she said. "I've done it once before in Syria, but I had equipment then. And now," Emma glanced at him, "now I have alcohol pads, duct tape, and desperation." She turned to the sunglasses woman. You don't want to talk? Fine. But if this plane lands where it's headed, everyone on board vanishes, including you. And you're a pawn, not a player. You won't be rescued, you'll be erased. No response. Emma tore off a strip of duct tape and pressed it firmly against the woman's right thumb, holding it in place for several seconds, then peeled it slowly. The faint ridges of her fingerprint appeared in the residue. Primitive, she muttered, but sometimes that's all it takes. She pressed the duct tape ridge onto her own thumb, reinforced it with an alcohol pad to reduce static friction, and placed her thumb on the scanner. The device blinked. Denied. She tried again, pressing slower, adjusting the angle. Beep. Access granted. Admin mode. Emma exhaled hard. We're in. Roar's eyes widened. Can you shut it down? I can redirect it, send false feedback to its destination node, and scramble the command chain. She tapped furiously on the device interface, overriding its embedded instructions. It pushed back. Intelligent code. Dynamic. Whoever built this didn't want anyone interfering. You have 5 minutes, Roar said, eyeing the countdown. After that, we lose the ability to manually override flight systems. Ground control will lose track of us completely. I know, Emma replied, sweat collecting at her brow. The device vibrated once, then froze. The blue pulse stopped. Redirected, Emma said, but something felt wrong. The woman smiled. Roar noticed it too. Why is she smiling? Emma looked down at the device's readout. It had stopped transmitting, but not disabled. Instead, it had transferred command to what? She checked the screen. A second signal, another broadcast, a receiver, on board, hidden. There's another component, Emma whispered. Something else transmitting. This was just the bait. A chill ran through her. The woman had expected her to win this round. It was designed that way. Data stood asked. We need to search the cabin, every compartment, every overhead bin, cargo hold if possible. There's a secondary relay device here, still active. Roar, call the crew immediately. Cheryl and 2 other flight attendants spread out discreetly, alert but calm. Emma moved through business class like a shadow, scanning bags with her modified phone camera. She tuned the sensor for thermal trace. It wouldn't detect metal, but it might catch active circuitry generating even the slightest heat. At row 7, her phone beeped. Overhead compartment bin 7B. Emma opened it carefully. Dot. Inside, a standard black backpack hidden beneath a pillow was a palm-sized cylindrical object, blinking red. She pulled it out slowly. Found it, she radioed, but it's counting down. The LED ticked. 0 hours, 2 minutes, and 33 seconds. Roar's voice came through. We're 3 minutes from the reroute trigger. That thing's tied to the navigation array now. Emma sat on the floor of the aisle and peeled the device open with a multi-tool. Wires, sensors, she had no schematics, just instinct. She studied it for 10 seconds. 1 red, 1 blue, 1 yellow. Classic triple failsafe, she muttered. The wrong cut wouldn't blow the plane, but it would lock the system irreversibly. Okay, think, she whispered. Red routes power, blue syncs timing, yellow's the initiator. She hovered her wire cutter over red. If I'm wrong, she clipped it. The blinking stopped. The cabin seemed to exhale. Dot. She stood slowly, device in hand, adrenaline still racing. It's over, she said. We're back on course. The plane is ours again. In the cockpit, Roar confirmed. Systems back to normal. Chicago Tower has us on radar. They never even knew we left course. Emma returned to the restrained woman. You lost, the woman smirked. You stopped the plane, but not the delivery. Emma's eyes narrowed. What delivery? But the woman said nothing more. Emma stared at the woman's cold, satisfied expression. Even zip-tied to the seat and with both devices neutralized, she looked smug, like a chess player who had just lost a bishop but already cornered the king. Emma had seen that look before. In Prague once, when she disarmed a bomb too early. The real trigger had been elsewhere. You said the delivery already happened, Emma said quietly, but both transmitters were on this plane, so what else are we missing? The woman gave her nothing, just a single eerie blink. Emma stood up and turned to Roar. We've missed something, something physical. The captain nodded gravely. We'll start a full sweep. No, Emma said, we need to go deeper. We're thinking like hijack responders. This was never about taking the plane. It was about getting something on or off it. She walked briskly back toward economy, scanning faces as she passed. Passengers murmured nervously, feeling the tension building again. Emma didn't bother to hide her urgency now. She stopped abruptly at row 14. Dot.
The man in the beige jacket, the original suspect, sat stiffly, sedated and cuffed, but there was something beneath his seat, a duffel bag, slightly torn at the zipper. Most passengers shoved their bags overhead or deep under. This one was left just slightly exposed, as if deliberately planted in reach. She knelt and pulled it out, unzipping slowly. Her stomach sank. Inside, wrapped in black cloth and carbon-lined mesh, was a rectangular steel case with reinforced corners. No commercial tags, no airline scans, no serials, and far too heavy to be luggage. Emma turned to Cheryl. "Was this bag scanned at boarding?" Cheryl shook her head. "I never saw that enter the cabin." Emma knew what that meant. It had been smuggled, loaded into the cabin by the ghost passenger. The beige jacket man didn't just sneak himself on board, he brought cargo. She stood and placed the case on an empty seat, then popped the latches. It opened with a hiss. Inside was a hardened titanium briefcase, bolted shut. Roar at her side, eyes widening. "What the hell is that?" Emma pulled out her scanner and ran it across the surface. This isn't a weapon. It's data storage. Tier 3 encryption, probably military grade or better. "Stolen?" Roar asked. "Almost definitely. Too valuable to risk a crash." Emma tapped on the case. This is what the flight was really about. Everything else, the spoofing, the transmitters, the diversion, was cover. They weren't hijacking the plane. They were delivering this somewhere off-grid. She glanced toward the front of the plane where the sunglasses woman remained bound. That's why she wasn't concerned about the transmitters. She didn't care if we stopped them. The case just had to get far enough off course before we found it. Cheryl stepped forward, voice low. "Emma, I think you need to see something else." She handed her a folded boarding document. Emma opened it. It was forged, almost flawless, but just wrong enough that a trained eye would spot it. The name printed wasn't in the manifest, but the seat number matched. 108. Emma looked up sharply. "Who's in 108? They moved quickly down the aisle. The passenger in 108 was a young man in his early 20s, hoodie, earbuds, backpack across his lap. He looked up as they approached, calm, even smiling. Emma stopped. Something was off about the way he looked at her. Not startled, not confused. He was waiting. "Mind stepping into the galley, sir?" Emma asked. The young man stood without resistance. "Sure, let me grab my bag." "No need," she said, placing a hand on his shoulder. "We'll come back to it." They walked silently. Inside the galley, Emma turned to face him. "You're not on the manifest." He didn't argue. "Guess I got a lucky seat." "Is that case yours?" she asked. He grinned. "I wouldn't know. Haven't seen it."
Emma crossed her arms. "You're too calm for a passenger caught in federal-level interference. Who are you delivering to?" He didn't respond. "You're the mule," she said flatly. "They used the woman to distract me, used the man in the beige jacket to set off the alert. But you were the carrier. This wasn't about tech. This was about you delivering a payload under the radar." Still, he said nothing. Emma stepped closer. "That case holds stolen data, possibly blackmail grade, state secrets, agency profiles, weapon protocols. You don't know what it is. You just know you're supposed to hand it off after this flight." The young man's smile faltered slightly. "You're good." "Too good for you," she snapped. "Who activated you?" "I don't know," he said. "Doesn't work like that." Emma frowned. "Then who trained you?" He hesitated. "Bingo. Your ex-agency," she said. "Or trained by someone who was." He smirked. "Maybe." Emma radioed the cockpit. "We have the payload and the carrier. Recommend full lockdown. No one leaves this aircraft without direct federal clearance." The captain responded instantly. "Understood. Alerting O'Hare. Agents will meet us at the gate." Emma turned back to the young man. "You're not going anywhere." He shrugged. "Didn't think I was." She watched him carefully as he took a seat on the floor. This wasn't over. This was layered that someone had planned it all. The ghost passenger, the tech distraction, the courier kid, even the failed hijack attempt. But who, and why now? As the plane began descending toward Chicago, Emma sat in row 9 again, staring at the titanium case at her feet. The game had changed. And this time, it wasn't just about a flight. It was about who still knew her name and wanted her back in play.
As Flight 227 taxied toward the gate at O'Hare, the weight of what had just happened settled heavily across the cabin. But for Emma Logich, it was only the beginning. She remained seated in row 9, staring at the titanium case across from her. Its silent presence pulsed louder than any siren. She'd seen gear like this before, used only in covert-level missions with international consequences. But what gnawed her wasn't the case. It was the courier, and the whisper that still echoed in her mind. Valkyrie 1. She hadn't heard that codename in 7 years. Not since Langley shut down Echo Directive, an off-the-books task force operating far beyond classified parameters. She hadn't just walked away. She was erased. No trails, no ties, no mentions. Valkyrie 1 was buried, dead and decommissioned. And yet the pilot had known it. That whisper had saved the plane. And now, someone else knew it too. Roar slid into the seat beside her, face pale. Feds are waiting at the gate. Marshals are sweeping the terminal. That kid in 108? Nothing on him. No fingerprints, no identity match. He's a ghost. Emma nodded slowly. He was never meant to be caught. This whole thing, it was just noise to cover one quiet delivery. The woman in row 17 isn't talking either, Roar added. And the guy in the beige jacket? Definitely not working alone. All 3 played parts. None know the whole picture. Emma leaned back, eyes closed for a second. They never do. That's how this kind of operation stays clean. Only the handler knows the full route. Cheryl approached them, phone trembling slightly in her hand. Emma, she said, her voice tense. We just received a message from ground control. A secure line came in encrypted, claiming it's for you. The person knew your seat number and asked for Valkyrie 1. Emma's eyes opened like a split blade. Cheryl handed her the phone, unsure. Emma took it with both hands. The message was simple. You weren't supposed to be on that plane. But now that you are, welcome back, Valkyrie 1. No name, no trace, no signature. Emma stared at the words like they were written in blood. Roar read over her shoulder. That's not a message. That's a warning. No, Emma whispered. That's a call sign. Someone just reopened the directive. And they're using me as bait. The pilot's voice crackled through the intercom. Ms. Locke, federal agents will board first. Please remain seated. As the wheels stopped and the seatbelt signs dinged off, 4 plainclothes agents entered. Through the front, flanked by 2 TSA enforcers. But as they stepped toward Emma, she raised her hand. Don't touch the case, she said. One agent, sharp-jawed and stiff, frowned. Ma'am, we're under instruction to confiscate. Emma stood up, calm but cold. That case contains classified materials. You touch it without clearance, and your fingerprints are going into a file you'll never see again. The man hesitated. Roar backed her. Captain's orders. We log it. Chain of custody starts with her. Reluctantly, they nodded. The agents took the 3 suspects off the plane one by one. Emma watched the courier last. He turned his head at the jet bridge and gave her a faint smile, as if he'd completed his mission. She hated how much that unnerved her. An hour later, deep inside the secure lounge of Terminal 3, Emma was seated at a metal table. Across from her sat a man in a gray federal coat, steel eyes, no name badge. He dropped a folder on the table. It was marked Echo Directive Deactivated in black ink. Funny, he said, tapping the folder. We were told this project was mothballed. Then someone uses a defunct agent's code name to divert a national flight and smuggle classified intel, and you just happened to be there. Emma kept her expression unreadable. You know how many flights leave Dallas every day? I was on vacation. He didn't smile. And yet the pilot recognized your code name from a dead file. Maybe you should be asking him where he got it. I will, after you tell me why someone reopened Echo. Emma leaned forward. If I knew that, I'd already be hunting them. The agent studied her. Then finally, he pulled out a still photo from airport surveillance. A man in a black suit, standing at the international terminal 2 hours before Emma's flight. He wasn't boarding a plane. He was just watching. The sea. Departure board. Dot. Her throat tightened. She knew that face. Thomas Varelli. He had been her handler. Declared KIA in Istanbul. Burned in a car bomb 3 years ago. And yet there he was, alive, watching her flight. The agent said, "Your case just changed classifications, Miss Locke. You're now part of an active threat assessment. If Varelli is alive, he's playing a game we don't understand." Emma whispered, "He's not just alive, he's controlling the board again." The agent paused. What does he want? Emma's fingers slowly curled around the edge of the titanium case beside her, to pull me back, and he just used a plane full of people to send that message.
Ever touch the ground? "What is this?" Roar asked from beside her. God, Emma didn't blink. It's the first strike in a war no one knows has already started. Later that night, she stood inside a dim safe house in the outskirts of Chicago. A cold breeze slithered through the cracked window. A soft knock. Dot 3 short. 1 long dot. She opened the door. A woman in a leather jacket soaked in rain entered without a word. Her eyes met Emma's with recognition, not surprise. "Didn't think I'd see you again," the woman said, Dot. Emma shut the door. "Didn't think I'd still be alive." Her name was Lena Torres, former Echo Directive tech operative, once Emma's closest ally. Officially, she'd vanished to Mexico. Now she was standing here like no time had passed. "They sent the message through the case, didn't they?" Lena asked, rushing back soaked hair. Emma nodded. "Varelli's alive and he wants us chasing ghosts." Lena sat on the edge of a worn couch. Or he's creating one. Think about it. Valkyrie 1 reactivates. Intelligence agencies scramble. Digital chaos begins, and while everyone's looking east, he moves west. Emma narrowed her eyes. "Diversion tactics. Classic Varelli," Lena added. "Always 10 steps ahead. Always using us as pawns." Emma dropped a file on the table. "He has assets buried in every intel tier. If we go through official channels, we'll trigger the trap. We need someone outside." Lena looked up. "You mean Ghost Protocol?" Emma nodded. "We call in the outliers." The next morning, Emma sat across from a man who smelled like desert dust and cigarettes. His beard was heavy. His accent, Romanian maybe. His eyes too tired to lie. "Name's not important," he said. "You want someone disappeared, stolen, or burned. I charge triple." Emma placed the decrypted flash drive on the table. "This isn't a contract," she replied. "It's a legacy. Varelli's reawakening something global. If we don't shut him down, what happens to governments next won't matter." The man studied her. "You Valky?" Emma didn't answer, she just stared. "Dot, that was enough. I know someone in New York, hacker called Dustwatch. If he's part of the Citadel breach, he'll know where Varelli is headed next." Emma nodded. "Set it up." Back in the safe house, Roar returned with a federal file smuggled from Langley. He dropped it on the table. Emma flipped through it. Her face hardened. Each page was a classified kill order, signed off in the months after Echo Directive was dismantled. The targets, her old team, Lena, Roar herself. "They weren't shutting down Echo," Roar said. "They were covering it up." Emma traced her finger over her own file. Photo marked. Compromised asset priority elimination. And beneath that, a red stamp. Authorized by T. Verrill. She stepped back like the page had burned her. Lena whispered, "He didn't go rogue. He took control." Emma felt her jaw tighten. "Then he's not just the threat, he's the system now." Roar leaned against the wall, arms folded. "What's the play?" Emma stood tall, voice like steel. "We don't stop him with orders. We stop him with memory, with the truth he buried." She picked up her old sidearm, the one she hadn't touched in years. Time to finish what Echo started. Midnight in Brooklyn was cold and unkind. Neon lights glared off wet pavement as Emma and Lena descended into an abandoned subway terminal, shadows stretching like arms behind them. The air was thick with the metallic scent of old tracks and fresh danger. Dustwatch, the elusive hacker they'd come to find,
sat hunched beside a wall of modded laptops and wire-snarled equipment. He looked barely 20, his hoodie stitched with cryptic symbols. "You brought Valkyrie?" he said, not looking up. "You're either very brave or very stupid." Emma stepped forward. "We need the key code Varelli embedded inside glass. Citadel." He glanced up, surprised. "You know its name?" "I know more than that," she said, tossing the decrypted flash drive on his keyboard. "It ends tonight." He exhaled sharply. "That's not a kill code. That's a map." Emma's pulse quickened. "Map to what?" Dustwatch tapped furiously. Screens flickered. A digital globe spun before them, then zoomed in. A series of triangulated beacons formed a diamond across Eastern Europe. Donna leaned in. Latvia, Romania, Ukraine, and Switzerland. Emma's eyes locked on the center. "He's nesting in Geneva. Diplomatic shadow zone." Dustwatch nodded. "Swiss neutrality. No warrant, no extradition. But he's not just hiding, he's rooting. Data through those cities. He's using global watchdog agencies to blind each other." Roar entered behind them. "We've got two options. Leak this and start a war. Or cut the head off the snake." Quietly. Emma's stare hardened. "Get me a flight to Geneva." Hours later, at a private airfield outside Prague, Emma, Lena, and Roar prepped for infiltration. They wore no official gear, no insignia, just the truth and enough resolve to break nations. The Swiss safe house was underground, built beneath a dormant bank. Entry would require digital spoofing, retinal forgery, and 10 minutes of uninterrupted access before security protocols reset. 10 minutes, Rock said, handing Emma a pulse grenade. "After that, this whole place locks down like Fort Knox." She nodded, then locked eyes with Lena. "If I don't make it..." Lena stopped her. "You will." Emma cracked a faint smile. "You were always the better liar." The corridors beneath the bank were silent and sterile, humming with surveillance tech. As they moved through the dark, Emma could feel it like a pull, a magnetic knowing he was near. In a steel-paneled chamber at the end of the hall, the lights flickered to life, and there he stood, Tomas Varelli, older, sharper, wearing a white-colored shirt and calm like a priest before the storm. "Emma," he said, voice like silk over broken glass. "I wondered how long it would take." She leveled her weapon. "You sent the case. You baited me." "I resurrected you," he said, stepping closer. "Echo was ashes, forgotten, but your name still mattered. The world needs control, Emma, not chaos. Glass Citadel is that control." "You're not protecting the world," she hissed. "You're blackmailing it." He smiled. "Perspective." Emma's finger hovered near the trigger. "You framed me, targeted my team, lied about Echo's demise. Why?" "Because you were the only one who could stop me." Then the lights died. A flash of movement. Emma spun, fired once. Varelli dropped, a red blossom blooming across his chest. Alarms erupted. The walls glowed red. Lena's voice crackled over Emma. "You've got 90 seconds. Emma rushed forward, yanked the encrypted core from Varelli's watch and embedded data ring. As sirens wailed, she sprinted toward the exit tunnel, guards spilling in like a flood behind her. Roar met her at the stairwell, covering her as bullets ricocheted off steel beams. "You got it." She held up the ring. "It's over." Back in the U.S., the contents of the ring were released to a secure Senate subcommittee. Within hours, Glass Citadel was exposed, rogue assets arrested, and nations scrambled to rebuild trust. But Emma didn't stay for the praise. She sat alone on a bench at O'Hare Airport, boarding behind her. Her disguise was perfect. Wig, glasses, civilian clothes. Just another nobody in row 9. The pilot passed her on the way to the gate, paused and leaned down and whispered, "Valkyrie won." Her heart clenched. It wasn't over. She turned. The pilot was already walking away. She grabbed her bag, left the boarding line, and vanished into the crowd. Weeks later, a small news outlet reported that the data ring, once believed cockpit, had self-wiped within 24 hours. No backups, no trace. Some say it was an accident. Others say Emma wiped it herself to protect what was left of Echo and to ensure the power inside could never be used again. But the truth,
The truth was simpler. Emma didn't need medals or history books or a grave in Arlington. She needed silence. Not the kind you earn when you've seen the worst, and chosen not to become it. And so the woman from row 9 disappeared. No longer a nobody, but the ghost the world would never forget.